Welcome back to the Team of One podcast. I'm Moe Choice, and in this episode, I spoke to Kyle Bender about three things: how to niche down properly while pursuing your passion, the fear of losing your security versus going and doing what you really love, and the friction between going into business with others or staying solo. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Peace. Welcome to the Team of One podcast. Welcome back. Today we're joined by Kyle Bender. Who are you?
I am a father of three daughters, so I'm a girl dad, married for almost 20 years. I'm a licensed therapist in Texas, and then I'm a coach for men in relationships.
Amazing. Do you identify as a solopreneur?
I do. That might be changing a little bit, but my heart and a lot of what I do, certainly it's been a side hustle, been trying to figure it out, started my own therapy practice, but the coaching business is kind of where my heart is, and that is my solopreneur space. There's a lot there that I love and I'm trying to figure out. And so you may help me on some of that today. But yeah, absolutely. I have a private practice for therapy that I run. It's on me. And then I'm doing this coaching thing in tandem with that based on kind of what I've seen in the therapy practice and some of the things that I want to bring into the world. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Why is that? Why was there a slight hesitancy with calling yourself a solopreneur? Can you clear that up for us?
Sure. Well, one is I just partnered with some people to start a group therapy practice here in Austin. So there's that, and that will provide a majority of my income going forward. But for the last probably 3 or 4 years, in some way, shape, or form, I've been wrestling with coming out of being in nonprofit leadership for about 20 years, serving on staff, having employees, things like that, to being on my own and kind of going, am I doing the therapy thing? Am I doing the coaching thing? Am I doing both of them? Can I really put all the eggs in the basket of me? Or do I need these other things? So the hesitation has been partly, I want to be honest, of where something new that's just out. But also, too, I've kind of wrestled with, can I actually pull this thing off?
So explain, because this is super interesting for people that are navigating some of the questions that you're navigating. I think it's very common, right? If I'm in a partnership, can I call myself a solopreneur? Well, it depends on what the partnership is like. So explain that a little bit to us. Like what happens if you're not partnered? What do you lose if you're not partners from your ability to do therapy?
Sure. Yeah, so the quick version of this is I'm a therapist, and I wasn't really taught the business side of things when it comes to, you're not taught that in grad school. And so I was doing some consulting with someone who was helping me sort of learn some of that for my own private practice as I was launching. And then that led to us kind of launching a group practice where he's going to handle the business side of things. And then I'll kind of handle the clinical side of things and overseeing the therapist and that sort of things. In this case, yes, because I'm passing off the business to them and I get to I don't have to worry about that. On the coaching side, all that stuff has been completely
on you. And you were honest with me when we met. I mean, kind of how we got connected was because you were interested in the solopreneurship space and I was interested in what you were doing. But also when we spoke, you said the same thing to me. You said, I don't know if I'm the right fit for this because I don't know if I'm technical. But at the end of the day, what we're doing, and people who are listening to the other episodes will understand, is that it doesn't matter where you start. You're kind of figuring out how to become a solopreneur, right? In many ways.
If I'm honest too, my hope is the way we're structuring this, the way we're doing this group practice, is there will be parts of me that have to step out of therapeutic work to kind of do that, which also will potentially free up some free time where I would love to lean more into what I'm doing here on the coaching side of things. So I'm hoping they go hand in hand. We'll see what actually happens. And there's been a time in my life where I really wrestled against solopreneurship because I was wanting security, right? So, there's a part of me that still goes, okay, am I just trying to find that security thing and I'm too scared to just launch in this solopreneur space? Or is it all making sense? Is it actually falling in line? Is my plans actually happening? So, we'll check back and see how it goes. But I can't let go of either one right now in some way, shape, or form, I guess is one way to say it.
Sure, and that could change, and that might not
I think
change. I do
so.
have I do have a question for you. What is security?
Great question. Um, Something that feels I'm neurologically wired to chase, even if I don't want to. So it feels habitual or default more than I have a definition of X amount of money in the bank or anything like that. So it's something I've grown in awareness of myself to go, oh, this is like sort of default mode, is I default towards what I think is the secure thing. Um, but I don't know if it really has any tangible definition to it as far as X amount of money in the bank or whatever it might be.
Sure, and also it's like the X amount of money in the bank for how long? If I have 100,000 in the bank, it's like, okay, but if I don't make any more money, how long is that 100,000 going to last? And is that secure as I'm dipping into my say? Very, very common things you hear from people, right? It's people say, I want a job for security. And it's like, okay. And then, Intel and Microsoft lay off 20,000 talented people who have mortgages and wives and kids to feed. And it's like, okay, well, where's the security there? And then, of course, there's our health. Just, are we ever secure from anything, really? So I think it's an interesting concept. And then, of course, you brought a different dimension because you're saying a partnership gives me security. And it's like, but you still have to get the business right. So maybe it's the fact that the security comes from the thing you don't know is being taken care of. Would that be a fair way to present security in this instance?
Yeah, security is the thing. Say it again.
It's the things you don't know how to do are being handled by somebody else.
Sure. Yeah, that could be it.
And they could just bail tomorrow.
They could. We have some signed papers, but yeah, in theory they could.
Well, they could get eaten by
Yeah,
a
of
bear
course.
tomorrow.
Of
Okay, so
course.
it's super interesting. So as you and this is I think this is a great conversation to have because I think there's a lot of people who are in your position. A lot. Probably more than there are solopreneurs. Probably. Where I've gone into partnership when really I want to do my own thing, but this is safer, or I've stayed in a job and I'm going to try and build my coaching practice on the side. Very, very common. Um, what are the things that you struggled with that you no longer struggle with in the sense of moving towards this solopreneurship idea? What are the struggles that you've overcome already? And then we'll talk about the ones that you're still facing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think initially there's a ton of imposter syndrome kinds of things for me. Tons of looking around and going, oh, this person's doing that. They're probably doing it better than me. This, and just kind of what's the point of sort of even entering this space? There's
Mm,
certainly a lot of that in the beginning of kind of doing the market research and then going, well, hold on, that looks better than my product, or
right,
you know, they're saying it better than I could say it, things
right.
like that. Initially, I think I got over that fairly quickly. Just by kind of having a bias towards action. Just I'm gonna just keep doing the next thing because I know what I'm seeing. I know what I'm saying matters. I know there's a place for it, even if it's just local to my community or something like that.
Let's square that. This is really
Yeah,
interesting. So you see it's the comparison thing, like, oh my God, and how am I supposed to compete with that? And then you mentioned two things there, I think. You talked about taking action,
hmm
which I think is an important thing to talk about. But there's also the idea that you knew that even though others had it better or were more advanced or were more articulate or whatever, that there was still a space for you. And that sounds like two different things.
yeah, possibly. Yeah,
Let's talk about the action. How do you stay in action with the fear, with the imposter, with the self-doubt? How do you stay in action?
yeah. I think on one hand, so what I do, I guess I can say is like I coach men who basically are in the middle of modern life right now, are juggling career, marriage, parenting. Basically, they're trying to do all these things that previous generations of men did: provide, show up, fix, be strong, and also all these other things that sort of modern society is asking them to do. do a lot more caretaking, be a lot more nurturing, be a lot more emotionally engaged, be a lot more present than previous generations men did. So
Cry
most of
more. Cry more.
yeah, yes, cry more, please. Get in touch with those emotions. Don't just suppress them and shove them down in there. So I think, part of it for me was I had my own journey of where I was burning out. So a lot of the people I see are burning out, lashing out, numbing out, all those kinds of things because they're trying to handle all this and they can't, right? They weren't given the skills. If we're doing it different than previous generations, we probably didn't have anything modeled to us. We didn't have guides who showed us how to do it. So that's kind of in the back of my mind as I'm working with men in therapy. So being a male therapist, about 95% of the people who knock on my door are male. And that's just kind of how it goes. And so then eventually I just started marketing to them because I figured, okay, I might as well. But in that process, I just kept seeing, oh, all these men are coming in kind of carrying this heavy load, silent load of all the stuff. And that's exactly what I went through. I burned out in 2018. And a huge part of it was I didn't know how to navigate what was happening inside of me. I didn't know how to navigate my emotions. I didn't know how to navigate my nervous system. So I think part of what kept me in action was I knew my own personal experience and history. I saw it in the clients that I was seeing in therapy. I knew there was a ton of men who are experiencing who will never show up in a therapy room, right? That's just, there's a stigma, there's other things. And so that was part of what pushed me was I had kind of, I think, a clear, compelling vision, who I wanted to reach. I knew I could make an impact. I wanted to try it out in the marketplace. I wanted to test it. And I think that kind of took away any fear of like, what if this fails? Or it was like, I want to test it. I think this is a real challenge. I think it's there. And I want to put this out there and see if it resonates.
That that's like the purpose being more important than your feelings about it, or the vision and the mission being more important than the individual.
That's what certainly helped me was I could come back to that. And then when I shared it, it resonated with people. Now you and I can talk here in a minute if you want. I don't think I figured out how to market to these people, but but when I share the message, it resonates. And so as I'm sharing with people, it resonates with them. And that just was like, okay, I need to do this. And everybody's going, you need to do this. So it just kept me in action.
Well, I think that's the essence of at least breaking into a market, is being able to talk in a way which gets them to say that's for me, or that makes sense, or that makes me feel something. I think that's super, super clear. And maybe that, sometimes I find for me, even though I don't know what I'm doing, and I usually don't know what I'm doing, there's something subconscious, non-conscious that pulls me forward. And it's like a you'll figure it out kind of energy. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I know there's something I have to keep going that way.
Yes.
Even though I'm crapping myself and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the bias to the right kind of action was important because I've heard you talk about this too. And I definitely, in the initial days, tinkered with my website and all the other things that basically are not running a business. And I didn't know how.
Everything but going and catching the fish in the lake. We do everything else.
Absolutely.
We walk the boat. We change the,
Guilty.
Yeah. It's just like get in the damn lake and catch the fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very common. I went through it. It's always easier to, arrange your, go and clean your room than confront your wife. It's always easier. So you started to, so when was you got this struggle about, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know if this works and I don't know if I'm useful, but you've also got this pull that you are useful and it's useful because you've been through it and you've got the skills, and you started to see people connecting with what you said through your practice and through your work. When was if it exists, when was the tipping point which made you say, this is the right path, this is the right thing for me to do?
Yeah, I think it still exists halfway. And I think I've kind of always wrestled, and this is part of what you and I talked about when I told you the first time, I don't know if I'm the right guy yet because I haven't fully made that shift. And it's hard because I have a family of three. I got three kids. I got a wife. We live in Austin, Texas, which requires a certain amount of income, right? And things like that. And so, I might be in doing this and letting it build and be on the side, or maybe I should have just gone for it. I don't know. But
Fair.
I think for me, one thing I know for sure, the way I'd say it for me is I know I'm not letting go of it. I don't know how much space it's going to take up. I don't know if I'm ever going to kind of go all in on that, or if I'm going to have a foot in both worlds with kind of running the group practice and the possibilities that are there, because that helps provide some of that more solid, stable income, which helps me do what I need to do for my family. But I know I'm not going to let go of this. So I don't know how big it's going to get, what shape it's going to take, but I know I'm going to keep chasing this thing that's calling me forward.
Why? Why not just go all in on the therapy practice?
Go all in on the therapy practice?
Yeah.
So this may be more nuanced than the audience needs, and you can choose. So before, for about 20 years, I was in nonprofit leadership, leading teams, casting visions, building and creating events, managing volunteers, doing all kinds of moving parts with a broad variety of gifts. Therapy, in a sense, is one person comes into my office here and we share a space. I kind of disappear because I'm holding space for them in a way, right? And so there's only so much of me that I get to bring to the therapy practice. So there's two components to the coaching. There's the piece of everything I just shared about what I see and the impacts and all that kind of stuff. And there's another piece that's selfish for me. It's actually really fun for me to go, okay, I've been seeing this thing and I need to put it into a 90-second Instagram reel. How do I articulate this thing I'm seeing? That engages my creativity. It engages parts of me that I get to engage that in therapy as well, but this is just a different expression. So if nothing else, I might always do this for my own
for fun.
self, for
Yeah.
fun, for creativity, but when I am with a coaching client, I get to show up different too. It's more collaborative. I get to share more of who I am and bring more of that to bear. And that's in the therapy space too, but there's just a little bit more, there's some kind of ethical considerations and things like that to where there is a little bit of a distinction of how I show up. And so I think for me, I need more diversity in my day and in my
variety as well, right?
Yeah, in how I engage in the world than therapy allows. And the group practice adds some layers to that, right? I'm hiring and managing and developing people and therapists, right? And I get a few extra kind of, but I think there's just the other creative pieces that are going to kind of keep wanting to be expressed. That if I just kind of go that route, I think I'll be pretty frustrated. I'll get burnt out. I'll wrestle too much with my own sense of self.
Appreciate you sharing that. I think that's really profound. I tell people, so one of the mistakes I made was when I had a boring business, it probably would have made me much richer, much quicker, but I got bored and I went and wanted to do something else. And actually, I'm one of these guys. Oh, would you change anything? Yeah, I'd change fucking loads of things. Like I'm not, no, everything's a lesson. And I became the man I was. Like that, I would have changed so many things because I would have become whoever I was by changing those things also. I don't think it makes a difference. But two other things I would have changed for sure is, and I think you spoke to this, some of us feel like we need to be more creative, show more of our personality, be more collaborative, be involved. Like I don't collaborate too much in the work I do, but I find ways to collaborate outside of work that has nothing to do with my income, right? And it's the same with the creativity. It's like I know lots of people that play music or do art or whatever, write poetry, that don't do it for money, but they do it outside. So I think it's an important thing to think about, that however you find the outlet, it doesn't have to be tied to my business, my work, my income. And I think you caught that idea as well while you were exploring, like maybe I'll just do it even if it doesn't work as a solopreneurship pathway. And I think the other thing also is to be clear about the selfishness of it. I mean, for me, solopreneur is selfish. It's like solo. It's my world. I want to fill my cup and do it my way and not have to explain myself to anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Unashamedly. And the beautiful thing about what you're talking about is that's the other side of the coin is I'm contributing positively to others. So even though it's selfish in terms of what I'm getting out of this path, I'm the only real way to forge a path like that, in my opinion, is to help others, because that's how you get what you want, is by actually contributing to others. I think that's where the universe conspires to give you what you're looking for if you contribute positively to her.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's both and. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I appreciate all of that. I think that's super cool. What's the, you kind of spoke about this. So I would guess your next goal is to be stable, get the partnership working at least, but also have an ability to create your own path through coaching. To put it in your own, like, what's the thing that you're aiming at that feels, you know, you can see it, but it's out of reach at the moment? How would you describe that? What's that next level?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for sure I owe it to the partnership to stabilize that. And that's the thing there. But even going into the partnership, this was all well known. We discussed all this, and there's avenues for me to hold on to this, to do this. And that's all. Everybody's on the same page. So we're good. So it's not,
We don't have to edit. We don't have to edit this bit
no,
out.
if they hear this, they know this conversation. It's totally fine. And so I think, yeah, for me, the next level is, yes, once stabilize that. But as I'm doing that, just I'm still working with men. I'm still seeing what's happening. I'm still kind of going, okay, how do we address some of this? What's getting through? How do people understand this? What's the language I can use? I'm still collecting all that data and trying it out on my email list or trying it out on Instagram or LinkedIn, those kinds of spaces, just to see what's resonating with folks. Partially, yeah, again, because if it comes back to me, great, that's fine. But if it goes out into the world and it does what it's supposed to do, that's great too. And so, I'd love for things to come back to me financially because I got to feed the family. But like, if it just goes out in the world, I'm okay with that too. And so it's kind of continue to collect that to potentially one day, just, yeah, I really feel like come and I've got a framework. I'm going to walk you through it. And I know it's going to increase your vitality. I know it's going to increase your ability to handle the demands you're feeling. I know it's going to help you be responsive instead of reactive, that you're going to have the tools for your nervous system and emotional regulation that you need to navigate modern life. And spoiler, I think like we all need it, whether you're juggling all that or not, because there's just so much coming at us in the world we live in that you got to be able to navigate what's happening inside of you.
Right.
So I think it's that. And then potentially too is just, I think we need a better conversation on manhood, masculinity. And I'm not going to be the person who sits over here and says, poor white man or anything like that. Cause we had our moments and when we fumbled a lot of things. But at the same time, it's kind of like there was toxic masculinity that was out there. And I don't know that masculinity is toxic, but there's some expressions of it that absolutely were. And then we now we don't really have much of what is what is masculinity now? How can you be strong and not shut down? How can you be emotionally engaged and that's okay?
So just to sharpen that a little bit
Sure.
into more focus. The question seems to be, how do I make a living by connecting with this idea and exploring it and help others explore it and help others navigate it? I think that's the question that's coming out. Like, how do I?
Mm-hmm.
It's really important, and I think there's an opportunity here that's needed.
Mm-hmm.
How do I leverage that also for my own? That's the balance.
For sure. Yeah. And
Biggest. You don't have.
I don't have the best answers for that yet.
Yeah, right. So that's the question. So next level would be really figuring that out. Would that be a fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So I have a couple of things I wanted to explore with you. You kind of said it. Everybody wants confidence, clarity, internal management, awareness, self-esteem, however you define that, image, good relation. And then if you sit and start to think about all of these things that people want, and then you look at, we talk about status, right? I think Russell Brunson taught me this when I read his book, but also I worked in a couple of advertising agents as a coach, and I started to learn from them that everybody wants better health, better wealth, and better relationships. And the beauty of using the term better is that you can define what better is for you. But essentially, everyone can point at something health-wise and say, I'm not happy, I'm not sleeping enough, I'm not eating well, I don't like the shape of my body, I'm not strong enough, I can't see clearly, I get headaches, I'm losing my hair, my teeth are yellow. You can find something. And then wealth is, I want more money, or I want less expenses, or I want less debt. You could find that everywhere. And then relationships itself really is very important. But it's also relationships with your wife and your children, your mom and your dad, and even after they're gone, by the way. And then, of course, you got clients, you got coworkers, you got partners, you've got colleagues, neighbors, et cetera, et cetera. So here's what I wanted to explore with you in this next bit. It's very hard, in my experience and with all the solopreneurs that I've worked with, to sell clarity, confidence, awareness, knowledge. It's very hard to sell because people don't usually look for that, right? They don't look for confidence, let's say. And so one of the things I wanted to talk to you, like, why would someone come to therapy? And to your point, why would they come to therapy and why would they not? So I wouldn't go to therapy because that's for wusses, or that's not for me. I'm a tough guy, right? So that's status. And I think that breaks down to relationship with self and how I'm perceived by others. So relationship with others, right? Why would they come to therapy? What's the flip side of that? A man, let's talk about.
Sure. Well, the generic thing I say, right, is most people are in my office because something's disturbing their peace, and it's disturbing their peace enough that they're willing to risk some of the stuff you just talked about to come and get the clarity or the help or whatever relief, whatever they think it is they need. So the peace is disturbed enough that if I don't figure this out, there's worse disruptions of peace.
I'll put up with the embarrassment. Yeah, so there's a tipping point there. Right. Okay, so now we flip it to coaching. Why and I think this is kind of your point. Why wouldn't someone come and get coaching? Well, that's okay. People can get coaching. People get coaching all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah,
why wouldn't they?
Well, what I would guess is when my message resonates, but no one buys anything.
Yes.
Then
Why?
There's some sort of there's not a clear enough offer. There's not a clear enough product.
That's it. And that's my point. That's my theory, is the offer has to be, you're going to find your life partner. You're going to get a new job. You're going to fix the relationship with your daughter. There has to be an outcome to the coach. You think about a coach, like a bus. It's got to get me from here to here. Clarity is not getting me from here to here. Confidence, self-esteem, groundedness, alignment. This isn't from here to here. We can't see it.
Yeah, for sure.
And as a coach, I struggled with, but I can get anyone from anywhere to anywhere. It's up to them where they want to go, and I'll help them. Yeah. The problem is, imagine you wanted to book a flight and they say, oh, well, we go everywhere. And it's like, okay, where you go? But I want to go to New York. Yeah, we don't know, but we'll go. Right. So it's like, we want to, it's maybe a better analogy is the restaurant. Like, every chef I ever worked with can cook anything. You imagine we go and open a restaurant in Austin and we say anything. What kind of restaurant is that? Oh, they do anything. What do you mean? And why is Terry Black so popular? Because we know what we're getting at Terry Black's. They do a Texas barbecue only, and they mastered it. And that's why the queue's insane every time I go there. Right? In-N-Out Burger. A burger and chip and fries. That's it. You can do a double burger, double cheese. That's about it. Mastered it. And I think that's where, like, when we think about coaching, we're thinking about, I'm a coach. Yeah. Why do I care? Whereas if we say something like, I'll get you to, we don't even have to call ourselves a coach or a therapist or anything like that. Yeah?
For sure. Yeah, no, I think that kind of language, especially in the relational space, has been hard to sort of maybe get real granular and really have it expressed well. So the things I've said in the past is like, I'll help men get relief from everyday demands so they can go deep in their most important relationships. Was kind of something I had in the beginning. And that's the idea of like relief, better relationships. I'm trying to kind of articulate that.
So let's explore that if you're happy to.
Yeah, sure.
So the going deep into something is like the doing part. I don't think people are interested in that, by the way, too much.
Sure.
So they can go deeper in their relationships, right? Which means
all the words you were just saying earlier, right? Like more connection, more.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we know why the relationships are important. More love, more joy, more belonging, more intimacy. Then we say, okay, how does that manifest in reality? Find a partner. Reconcile with your brother. Right? Get closer to your business partner so you're working better together. I think that's the angle that you need to pick. And here's the biggest challenge most people have. I don't want a niche. It's a niche, right? I don't want it's too limiting. In-N-Out saying, we don't want to just sell burgers. That's too limiting. What about all the people that want chicken? Well, they won't come to you. But you still have people eating your burgers. And my advice to you would be, pick an outcome that's tangible and common. Reconcile with your wife, reconcile with your family, reconcile with your brother, or find a co-founder, find the right business partner, and then it's how are we going to do that? We're going to look at your relationship with yourself and think about all the things that are bothering you and figure out how to navigate those things so that you're crystal clear on what you're doing and you can take proper action towards that. And I think that's a much more compelling offer than go deeper, feel more connected, feel more confident, I think.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we do, right, I think, is we do the things where we say, once I get to this, then I'll feel this. Once I get to this, then I'll feel that, right? Once I get X amount of money in the bank, then I'll feel secure.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
And one of the things I always challenge is like, well, no, we actually have to feel things now if you ever want to feel them in the future. And so,
is that advice for yourself?
Of course, that's been my journey. Is I thought I felt a lot of things, but I didn't feel anything, right? But that's hard to sell to someone who's in distress.
Yes.
Right.
Therapy we're talking about now.
Therapy, or even like if I'm doing relational, reconcile with your wife, right? Reconcile, it's a little bit of, I want you to actually feel more right now so you can feel less later.
Right.
This feels like a hard sell. And this is one of the things I think I've struggled with is I'm marketing to an audience that has more on their plate than they can handle, that's stretched thin, that I'm telling them you need some of these quote unquote soft skills, emotional regulation, nervous system regulation. You need to navigate what's happening inside of you. Because then you're going to better navigate, whether it's your wife or your business partner or your board or whatever it is, you're going to navigate those relationships better. But trying to kind of market those soft skills and say, give me your time and energy and money that you don't feel like you already have because you're already so stretched thin. That's where I feel like, okay, I got a lot of resonance, but I don't have a lot of
Not
traction.
translating. Yeah.
And it's probably somewhere in what you were just saying, but that's the piece I still haven't quite figured out.
I think you're 100% right, because again, it's how, what, I used to create content kind of just trying to catch attention. And then only when I started to focus the content on the people I wanted to work with a tangible, I say to people, I'll show you how to make money. I'll show you how to create consistent income. I don't say, we're going to work on your mindset. You're going to make bullshit excuses that I'm going to have to squeeze out of you. I'm going to have to hold you accountable. No one wants to buy that.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you believe in yourself. I'm going to make you excited by work. No one don't care. What they care about is what happens at the end. Because if you say to me, I'm going to help you get clear, and you're going to be able to manage your emotions, and you're going to be able to take responsibility, and you're going to be able to feel connected and lighter, but you're going to have less money, less relationships. It's like, what the hell do I want to do all that for?
Absolutely.
So I think what you're saying, the resonance is like what they call top of funnel content. It brings people's attention onto you. But then you have the middle of funnel content where you're solving people's practical problems through the work that you do. And then that will then filter out until the bottom of funnel, which is the people that say, I need some help. Can we talk? And I think that's maybe your because it's such a complex but broad topic, this, and it will resonate with anybody. Everybody feels these things at certain times, right? So I think that's super interesting. And by the way, also when we talk about niching, or niching, as you guys say in America, it's the one who's disturbed or distressed, I think was the word you used, might not be the niche. It might be the people you help passively through your content. It might be, if you're making money as a coach, you can run a free workshop or a free seminar for these people, right? You could be helping them that way to make them feel not alone. You could create a community where everybody just comes and talks and shares, and great. But maybe the niche is the ones that aren't so distressed, but they have a particular goal and something's stopping them, and they think, well, this guy might be able to help me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right?
Starting from there, but then kind of even in that, narrowing that down further to who is the person? What are they trying to solve? That isn't in total burnout mode, because that person probably in therapy. So who's the guy who's not quite burned out or on the other side of burnout, but they haven't, or whatever it might be, but like that's in that space.
Yes.
That has a little bit of capacity to invest,
to navigate. Yeah, they're looking for solutions now, not understanding. They're not looking for insights. They're looking for solutions.
Right.
Resonance comes from it. Wow, that's really right. And so I work with solopreneurs. Yeah, but I have distressed solopreneurs come to me all the time. I need to make money tomorrow. Otherwise, I can't help you. I can't work with these people. What do you mean you need money tomorrow? What do you want? Magic abracadabra? I'd be a billionaire if I could do that. Right? Or my wife's about to leave me if I don't get a job. Or it's like, I can't, that's not my market. Even though they're a solopreneur, that's not my market. My market is, you've got some stability. You're ready to work for 90 days without expecting immediate results. You're ready to learn. You're ready to rip up your playbook because it's not working and build a new one. That's my market. Right? So I have to limit, because it's the way I work and it's who's going to pay me. And that's what I have to, it's I want to be selfish from one perspective, and, but at the same time, I have to give the market what she wants. And if the market isn't buying, it means we're not giving her what she wants.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I would have told you that thought I had pretty niched down. And what I'm hearing today, what I'm recognizing, is that there's probably space to actually push on that more to the people would be the actual buyers.
We'll end with this question, and then we'll close off because you've already been very generous with your time. Who is your niche?
Yeah, it's the modern man who is juggling all of life's demands, parenting, marriage, partnership, whatever, and career, trying to do it all, who really weren't taught how to do that because they didn't have model skills guides given to them.
I'm going to give you some wisdom, hopefully market wisdom, and the rest of the listeners. That sounds like a big group. I don't know the numbers, but I think that's in the millions. Again, you can say, now if you said in Austin, I'd say that's a niche.
Okay.
Because I guarantee you, there's enough people in Austin who suffer from that can make you a millionaire. Just Austin. And so here's my advice to you and everybody else. Around 100,000 should be the number of your niche. So if there's more than 100,000 of them, you haven't niched enough. And we can pick this up offline, Carl, and I'll show you what I mean.
Sure,
listen,
yeah.
it was an absolute pleasure. I wanna just go through what we talked about, because it's a very common story, but quite a unique one in your sense, because it plays out somehow differently. But nonprofit, many years, burnt out, went into therapy, right? As a licensed therapist. So this is a proper craft that you created, proved yourself in that space, went into partnerships, saw an avenue through coaching, which you saw gave you lots of different things for you that was going to help still fulfill your mission in life, but also give you more of what you wanted, right? While thinking about your kids and your wife. And so the issue of security comes up. And we started actually there. What is security? And funny enough, you ended a little bit by saying that's just an idea, and you can believe you're secure before you even get there. And I think that's an interesting reflection to have, huh, Kyle? And then we talked about sharing who you are. When I asked you, really, why are you doing this? Why have you picked this way? And I think that's really an important thing. Am I sharing with the world who I truly am, and giving the things that I want, that occupy my mind, that drive me, that nurture me, that nourish my soul? It's that idea. I think that comes through really clear with you. And then we talked about, well, what are we navigating next? Well, how do I figure out the $1 million question? How do I position myself in a way where people are going to pay me money to do what I want to do? And then we got into a discussion about that, and we ended up with niching, which is quite often where people are stuck, by the way. Is there anything you want to say to close off on the conversation, to wrap it up so that we don't leave it loose before we say goodbye?
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, as much as I felt like, I'll say it took a lot of work to niche down to what I felt was that initially, right? Like when you first start, and then to here now to niche down even more, it's like it has some hope to it, but it's also like, oh, here we go again. But it feels like in that work, that does feel like the right way to go. That feels really important. And I think I have enough years of putting this, I've been doing this for a year and a half or so, putting this out there where the resonance is coming back, but not the buy-in. So that makes a lot of sense. So I really appreciate that insight.
Yeah, really cool. And the resonance stays because that's the depth of that's the principle, that's the passion, that's the truth, let's say. The resonance comes from truth, like when you start to showcase truth. The truth is so big, it's so overwhelming. And that's why we get emotional often when we tap into truth. So that's really a really good sign, because it shows that you're connecting people with the truth. But business needs structure and focus, right? And system and process. The ocean needs the boat to be able to make something of it. And so I think that's a really cool place, and we can always talk about this offline as well. Where can people find you? Potential clients or people who are just interested in what you do. What's the best place to find you?
Sure. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can look me up there, Kyle Bender. And then you can also find me at kylebendercoaching.com. And then I told you I'd be happy to throw a couple PDFs around regulation of the nervous system, scripts for hard conversations, with kind of just really timely places to use them as you juggle all the demands of life. So I'll throw those at kylebendercoaching.com/Mo, and people can go and grab those there.
Perfect. And remember, Kyle's got so much training and practice and experience in dealing with these problems. So these are resources that I'm certainly going to be looking at. And so go and download them there. Kyle, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. I really appreciated it. And I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Thanks, Mo. Appreciate it.
The difference between surviving and thriving often comes down to a single shift in perspective. Maybe today's conversation sparked something for you, or maybe it confirmed what you already knew. I'm going to keep exploring what it takes to reach the next level. For more solopreneur stories, hit subscribe. And if you know someone who'd be perfect for the team of one, please introduce us on LinkedIn. See you next time. Peace.